Today on The Young and the Restless, Phyllis puts a condition on working with Billy, Nick gets a disturbing update on Sharon, and Mariah confronts Ian. All products and services featured are independently chosen by editors. However, soaps.com may receive a commission on orders placed through its retail links, and the retailer may receive certain auditable data for accounting purposes. At Society, Billy spots Phyllis sitting still and smiling. This makes him nervous, and he asks what's going on. She says, nothing, but he's not buying it. Phyllis tells him for the first time in a long time, things are right on track for her. She explains she's letting everything go regarding Sharon. I can't control it. Billy agrees she can't. He's impressed as Phyllis reiterates that she can't control Nick, Michael, or Sharon. Billy understands righteous rage, but thinks she's trying to convince herself. He asks if she's really let this go. At Sharon's place, Nick sighs. Faith comes down the stairs and admits she didn't sleep. She says Christian is still crashed upstairs and thanks her father for staying. Nick notes that Tessa and Mariah went home to be with Mariah. They worry about not hearing from Sharon. Nick says she hasn't been checked into a hospital and the police have launched a search. He vows they'll find her mother. Nick works to reassure Faith, but she knows he's worried too. She points out that Sharon wouldn't go off alone without telling them at this point. Nick argues she may have had feelings to work out. Your mom can handle herself. Faith fears she was drugged again or had another breakdown. What if it was Ian? The guy's capable of anything, right? Maybe he did something to Mom. At the ranch, Nikki seethes about the monster Ian Ward coming back to town. Victor insists he won't harm anyone in his family anymore. Nikki's not so sure and warns he's not to be underestimated. Victor will deal with him. Nikki knows he'd like to go after him on his own, but he's deranged. Victor assures her Ward is being watched. He won't catch any of us off guard again. Nikki fumes. How dare he come back here after all the agony he's caused? In the park, Ian looks up from his spot on the bench when Tessa and Mariah appear with Mariah in her stroller. As he admires the child, Mariah steps forward protectively. She warns Ian to take a step back. Ian understands how his presence could give her pause. Mariah tells Tessa they need to go. Ian stops her, pointing out that a Newman guard is following him. He's not a threat. Mariah scoffs at this. Tessa asks what he wants. Ward says he wants to be responsible for the trauma he caused in the past. Mariah tells him to go back to prison and says people like him don't change. Ian pleads for a chance to make amends. At Society, Phyllis reminds Billy that when she puts her mind to something, it's actually a piece of cake. Billy tells her it's one of her favorite things about her. Phyllis says she made a New Year's resolution. Billy hopes she can get past the first week. Phyllis reveals she's committed to helping him get Chancellor back. Billy is glad to hear it. This will be a monumental fight. Phyllis says there's one condition. Billy sighs. He should know better. Phyllis isn't asking him to cut his arm off. Summer appears and tells her mother she talked to Chance. Sharon is missing. At Sharon's place, Nick tells Faith that he knows how scary it is not being able to get in touch with her mom. Faith frets all over again. Nick acknowledges that Ian is an evil son of a bitch, but he doubts he was able to tamper with Sharon's pills again. Faith is unconvinced. He's here for a reason. What if that reason is Mom? Nick continues reassuring Faith that Victor is keeping Ian away from the family. There's no way Ian could have got to her mom's meds. He understands her jumping to the worst-case scenario, but Sharon's been solid lately. Faith asks, then where is she? She didn't meet them last night or come home last night. Where could Mom be? In the park, Mariah rails at Ian about why he deserves to rot in a cell. Ian says hanging on to hatred poisons the soul. Mariah says her soul is fine and he doesn't have one. Ward tells her everything was his fault, but trauma causes confusion in a young person's mind, and they can come to believe they were responsible for their own pain. Mariah asks if he's insane and won't give him another minute of her time. Ian asks Tessa if she's okay after her asthma attack. Tessa admits she owes him her thanks. Ian goes on about being there in her moment of need. Mariah warns he's not going to paint himself as the hero. Ian tells her that God has a plan and it seems they are intertwined until the end. Mariah tells him he's evil and no higher power is guiding him. Ian addresses Tessa and Mariah seethes that she wants to vomit listening to him. She warns he won't be able to con Tessa, so just stop it already. Ian apologizes and hopes one day she'll... At the ranch, Victor tells Nikki she's safe and so is the rest of the family. Nikki hates Ian and doesn't understand why he was set free. Victor reminds her he's a relentless manipulator. That's what scares her. Victor was shot because of him. Victor promises he'll no longer be a problem for their family. At society, Phyllis asks Summer what Chance said. Summer says she didn't show up to New Year's dinner and hasn't come home since. Phyllis scoffs that she's done this before. She'll lay low until everyone gets freaked out and then she'll appear again. Summer doesn't think she'd have taken off without telling anyone after everything that's happened. Phyllis is sure she'll show up. Billy agrees with Summer that the timing feels off. He asks Phyllis, "Do you know what happened to Sharon?" At the ranch, Nick has arrived and tells his parents they haven't heard from Sharon. None of this makes sense. Victor will coordinate with the police. He reports that his guys have found out nothing so far. Nick asks Nikki to organize a playdate for Christian and warns Victor he won't be able to stay on top of things at Newman. Nikki wants him to rest, but Nick tells her it's not going to happen. Talk turns to Ian, and Victor says he's almost convinced he had something to do with Sharon's disappearance, thanks to the timing. In the park, Ian tells Mariah she has his admiration for her. It can't be easy, the kind of life they've made for themselves. She calls him pure filth. Some in his position would condemn the nature of their union, but he believes there are different forms of love. Mariah tells Tessa to take Aria to see the skaters. She'll be there when she's done with Ian. At society, Phyllis asks Billy if he's seriously suggesting she did something to Sharon. Billy reminds her she sat there and said she wanted personal retribution. Phyllis argues that she said she didn't want Sharon to wiggle out of taking responsibility. She wants Billy to apologize. Billy says, "My bad." Sally walks in and signals to Billy, who goes to join her. Billy tells Sally she saved him. Sally says he can make it up to her by joining her on a work trip to Paris. "I just want you in Paris with me." Billy says, "Let's go." Across the room, Phyllis tells Summer to look at Billy holding hands with his gal pal after accusing her of being a criminal. "Why do people still assume the worst about me?" Summer looks down at the table. Phyllis gasps, "Oh my God, Summer. Not you too." Summer doesn't think she did anything to Sharon, but she can't be surprised that Billy asked. She's been ranting all over town. Phyllis says she confessed to killing Heather and framing Daniel. She was just stating facts. She claims she's moving on and will let everyone else get frantic about Sharon. "I've let it go. If something dire has happened to her, it's on karma, not her." At Sally's table, Billy asks if there's a reason why she's asking him to join her in Paris. Is she hoping that it will stop him from going after Victor? Sally admits that's part of it. She's hoping he'll drop his risky plan. Billy asks, "What happens when we get back and I continue down my path?" Sally says that's his call. Billy grins that she's in his hands. Sally thinks he'll be glad he is. At the ranch, Nick remarks on Ian showing up right before Sharon goes radio silent. Victor says it can't be a coincidence. They recap sending him to prison and hoping he'd never get out. Nick snarls about the chaplain thing being a cover. Victor promises that Ian will be taken care of and there will be no blowback on them. Nick suddenly gets a call from Chance and Gops. "What? Oak? Any sign of Sharon?" He asks him to keep him posted, disconnects, and tells his parents they found Sharon's car in the river. At society, Phyllis complains to Summer that Sally is so basic. Summer argues she's actually quite talented. Phyllis reminds her about the past. Summer has moved on and gotten past it. She should try it sometime. Phyllis warns that people who don't remember the past are doomed by it. Sharon bolts when she's pushed into a corner. Summer says she's missing and Faith is terrified. "I care about these people." Phyllis understands, but thinks Sharon is probably on a beach somewhere with no extradition treaty. She tells Summer they need to come together as a family, heal, and move on. At the ranch, Nick tells his parents that Sharon's car was found near the bridge where Heather's body was found. The rescue team pulled it out of the river, but there was no sign of her. They're still searching. At society, Phyllis and Billy reconvene after Sally and Summer exit. She mocks him over his cozy meeting with Sally. Billy wants to put her energy to good use by going scorched earth to get Chancellor back. He wants to know her one condition. She says it's simple. When they get Chancellor back, Daniel will become a key player there. "No Daniel, no me. Do we have a deal?" At the park, Tessa resists being sent away.